Hello and welcome back to the channel, guys. In today's video we're going to be using React and we're going to create this e-commerce delivery address where the user puts in their delivery address or their billing address, and we've added the option to click the button to have the billing address the same as the delivery address. So if someone just types in their name, John Doe, give them address of New York, and just type in a random number. Now we see we have the delivery address, and if we click on the button same as delivery address, it autofills all the delivery address, and then you can have your own function on the submit button for what you'd like to do with it, and on click they go away. So get started on this then. So go into VS Code. So in VS Code I've just got a standard template of a React app. I've just run npx create React app, and I've got the template, the boilerplate. So let's get started then. So in the app.js we're just going to take everything out and leave the div. Okay. And we're going to get rid of the import logo. Now we're going to delete our index.css file. And we're going to delete the app test, we don't need that. We're going to delete that logo, we won't need that, delete that. And our index.js, delete that line there. We just open up our terminal. Okay, save all the changes. Okay, and we should be good to go. We'll just start our app, npm start. We'll just start our server. So we just wait for this to start up now. Okay, so now our app is after loading. We have a blank canvas. Let's go back to our code and let's get started. Okay, so in our app.js, okay, so just going to create a bit of room at the top. Now we're going to use the useState hook to hold some variables and some state for us. So we're going to import use state. We're going to from React. Okay, so in our function then we're going to set up some state. So for the check button first, we're going to have useState either hold the value of true or false for us. So we're going to say const check and set check. Equals useState, and the initial value is going to be false. We want it to be false when the page loads. And now for our delivery address, to hold the state for the name, the last name, the address and the phone, we're going to hold that in useState as well. So we'll say const. We're just going to call it state and set state. We're going to set that equal to useState. Now, and this is going to be an object. So we're going to say we're going to have a delivery name. We're going to just have them all blank strings to start out initially. So delivery last name. Now we're going to have a delivery delivery address. And we're going to have a delivery phone. That's also going to be blank. Okay, so in a return then we're going to use a form. So we won't need an action. Okay, so in the form then we'll first set a H1, and that's going to be delivery address. And under our heading then we're going to have an input, and the type is going to be text. We're going to set the name. Name is going to be delivery name, like what we have in our state. Sorry, this should be going in here. So and we're going to set a placeholder. We're going to call placeholder is going to be first name. And we're going to have an autocomplete. I'm going to set that equals to false. And the reason why I'm setting it to false this way is because Google seems to be ignoring the autocomplete now, so the workaround for the minute is just call it something that doesn't match what autocomplete is looking for. So that's why the only reason I'm setting it like that. And on this input field we're going to have an onChange event calling a function. And the onChange function, we're going to call it onChange. Okay, we'll create that function in a few minutes once we have all the form complete. We'll come back to that. In under this input, we're going to have another one for the last name, and for the rest of them, the address and the phone. So I'm just going to put in a class name here equals to for styling later. So the class name is going to be equal to input font. Okay, save that. I have the extension prettier. It's formatting on save for me. So just going to copy this input and change it as we need it. So we're going to have another input, and this is going to be the same. Class name is going to be the same. The type is going to be text. We're getting an error here because of the onChange, because we haven't created that function yet. So I'm just going to create that function to stop that errors. So I'm going to come up to the top here in under our useState. I'm going to create this function, const onChange. It's going to be equal to, because we're using a form, there's going to be an event. Just going to use an arrow function then, and we're going to set a variable in here first. We're going to just destructure. We want the name, and we want the value from each input. And to get them, we're going to set it equal to e.target. Okay, so what I mean by that is, so when we're typing in the first input field, say the delivery name, and every time we're typing in here, we're calling this onChange. We're calling the onChange, and the const is returning the name, what we have here in line 24, and it's getting the value as well. So whatever's in the input field. Okay, so once we have that, then we're going to set the state, and we're just going to set the state. We're going to use what we have in the state already, and we're going to just name it as a variable, the previous state, and then we're going to finish off our function here. So we're going to get all of our previous state, and we do that by 3 dots. We're going to spread our previous state, and then we're going to change the part that we need. So we use the square brackets and we say name, and by using the square brackets, then it tells React that the name is going to be whatever name returned to us in our onChange. So the name is going to be delivery name for the first one and address name for another one. And if we simply done name, we'd get an error because it can't find name in our state already. So if we wrap it in the square brackets, that's telling React that we need to get the value behind name. And we're going to set it to the value. Okay. So we're setting our state, we're getting our previous state, we're spreading out our previous state, and we're changing the part of what name is passed in, and we're changing it to the value that's passed in. So we save that now, and that error should go away. Okay, useState is not defined. Line 6. Oh, we need to put a capital S here. Okay, now. Okay. We have some warnings, but we'll fix them now in a second, because we're not using the check or the state part of it yet. So down to our inputs. So for our second input, then I want to set this to the delivery last name. And we're going to change the placeholder to last name. The rest is going to be the same. So we just copy this again, copy it down for our address one, and so we need to change this to delivery address, and we need to change this to address, the placeholder. Okay, so we need to copy down once more for the phone. Okay, so just paste another one. We're going to call this delivery phone. And we change the placeholder to phone. Okay, so the next thing we want, then we're going to set another H1, and we're going to put the billing address in here. Okay, save that. Next we're going to put the little checkbox. So we're just going to create a div. Now, inside this div, I'm going to give it a class name of check. And we're going to set a label. And we're going to set it for checkbox, because we'll have an input in a second, and the name on that is going to be checkbox. So we're just going to put in some text here, same as delivery address. Now we're going to put in the input then. So input. The input is going to be a type of a checkbox. We need initial value first. So the initial value is going to be false, so it's going to be unchecked. I'm going to set a name, and we're going to have the same as what we have in our label. So the name is going to be checkbox, And we're also going to have a function in here, an onChange one. So every time we click it and change the value, we're going to call this function. So equals curly braces, and we're just going to use an arrow function in here, and we're going to call set. What did we call it earlier? Set check. So we come down here, we want to say set check, and we want to set it to, going to put an exclamation mark and say check, and that's simply going to set it to whatever the current state is of check, is going to set it to the opposite. Okay, so we save that. Now, moving on then, we have our label, we have our input. So then we're just going to create the same as we have up here, our inputs. So we're just going to copy the first one, and we're going to change that as we need it. So we paste that in, and we just change it now. So class is going to be input font text. The name is going to be billing name. Placeholder is going to be the same. Autocomplete is going to be the same, but we won't need a function in here, so we'll just remove that, and we'll do the same then for the rest of the billing input boxes. So the second one then, actually we forgot to add one more thing. So the value in all these is going to be equal to, and it's going to say, we're going to check if check is true. So if the button is checked true, we want to return the state dot delivery name. So delivery name. And if it's not true, then we just want to return nothing. Okay. So we're going to copy this then and use this as our template for the rest of them. Okay, so we have an input then, and class name is input. The text is going to be type text, yeah. And the billing, we're going to have billing last name on this one. Billing last name, the placeholder is going to be last name. Autocomplete is the same. The value then this time is going to be, if it's true, return the delivery last name. Okay. So we'll do it twice more then for the address and for the phone. So that's good. This time is going to be billing address this time. The placeholder is going to be address. Autocomplete is false, so we want to return the delivery address this time. Okay. Once more then. So our class name, this time we're going to need a name of billing phone. Placeholder will be phone, and the value this time will be delivery phone. Okay, actually this div shouldn't be here. We need to close this div after our checkbox, so we need to close that there. Okay, so we'll scroll down now. Okay, we're just going to put in a button then. Input, and the type will be button, and we'll give it a class name of btn. And value submit. Okay, we'll save that now. Now, we haven't any CSS set, so when we go into our project, not very nice looking at the minute, but we're going to add our CSS now and style it, and we'll see a big difference. So we have it rendered to our page anyway, so we go back, and in our app.css, I'm just going to select everything in here and delete it because we're going to set our own CSS. So going to import a Google Fonts. I'm going to use a Google Fonts for our text, so I'm going to quickly go to Google Fonts. Now, I'm going to use the Roboto font, and if it's not first on the list for you, just type it into the search bar up on the top. So I'm going to select Roboto, and I'm going to select the 500, medium 500. So I'm going to select this style. I'm going to use the @import. So I'm just going to copy everything between the style tags. I'm going to go back into our app, just paste it on the first line. Okay. Now, so we're going to set some font for our body, and I'm just actually going to make this a bit smaller, and I'm going to bring in our app as well so we can see it as we're styling it. So I'll go back to our app. Okay. So in our body then, I'm going to set the background first. So I'm going to set the background. I'm going to use a linear gradient. And the linear gradient I'm going to use a 831588, and the second one is going to be 323770. So now you see we're getting these colors, but we don't want them all repeated like that, so we're going to fix that now. I'm just going to make this smaller so we can see it clearer. Now, so we want to give our body a height of 100 viewport height, and we're going to give it a width of 100 viewport width. We're going to do a display flex. We're going to align the items center, and I'm going to use justify the content also to center. Just going to set font family then. So the font family, if we go back to our Google Fonts, this is going to be our font family. So I'm going to copy this line here and set the font family to that. So if we save that now you see we have a line gradient. In our background we have the scroll bar here, so I'm just going to set overflow hidden to remove that scroll bar. Okay. Next thing we're going to style is our form. So I'm going to set the text color to white. I'm going to use text align to center. I'm going to give it a border. Uh, 5 pixels. 5 pixels solid. And okay, I'm going to give it a width of 30 viewport width. I'll give it a padding of 20 pixels, and I'm going to give it a border radius of 20 pixels. Okay, sorry, that should be 5 pixels. I have 50 pixels. Now, okay, so we're going to style the form inputs then. Form, we're going to say display block. And we want to set the margin. So on the top we're going to set it to 0. On the right then we're going to set it to auto. On the bottom I want 10 pixels, and on the left then we're going to use auto again. I'm going to set a border radius. I'm going to say 20 pixels for that. And a border of, I'm going to say 3 pixels solid white. And I'm going to give a padding of 10 pixels. I want the background color inside it of background color. Okay, I just have to close this line here, the semicolon, and put in a colon here. Okay, and we're going to give the font weight a bold and the color a bold. Okay, and the color are bold, and we're going to set the width then to 90%. 90%. Save that now and see how it looks. Okay, so we're getting there now. Okay, so I want to style the input font then. Input / font. I'm going to give it a background color purple also. I'm going to set the font weight to bold and the color to white also. Okay, so on the input focus state we just want to add some styling. So when the input is in the focus state, and to say that we just say input colon focus. So when we're in the focus state, we're just going to set the outline to none. Okay, so now when we focus, we have no outline, and just get rid of that for a second. Now when we go in, you see the outline around the edges, so that takes away that. So we say outline none. Now the check, we're going to style the check button. So let's say display flex. Sorry, this is the div actually going around the text and the check button. So we say display flex, and the same then align item center, and justify the content center, and we're going to give the margin bottom of 10 pixels. Okay, so now we can see that, and if it goes to full screen. Okay, so we're going to style the little checkbox then. So we're going to use the input, and we use the square brackets and we say type equals checkbox. We can do this way because we only have one checkbox in it. And for the style, we're going to set for that, we want to say a margin. We'll set a margin of 0. And we're going to say a margin left then. Of 10 pixels. I want to say the width is 10%. I'm going to say cursor pointer. So we save that then. And now it all aligns on the one row for us. So the input button then at the end, the submit button, to target that, we're just going to use the input .btn. We give it a class name of btn. So I'm going to give that a width of 30%. I'm going to set the min width to the max content. And what this is doing is when it goes into mobile view and it gets too small for the text, it won't go any smaller than the max content. And we're just going to give it a bit of margin on the top then. Margin top. And we're going to give 20 pixels there. So when we scroll in, the text is always visible. Okay. Now, we're just going to style the placeholders text as well. So to do that, we can do target the placeholders, and just going to set the color. Set the color to white. We'll set the opacity. Just close that there. Opacity to 0.5, and we'll set the letter spacing. We'll set that to 0.5 pixels, and I'll just put in a comment here. This will work in Chrome. Firefox, Safari. But that won't work in Microsoft Edge. So to do it in Microsoft Edge, we just do ms/input, then placeholder again. And this is for Microsoft Edge. Just set a color to white then. It's going to be the same, so we just copy these two and bring them down again. So we save that then. Okay. Set the input button then, we'll set a color white there as well. Okay, the text hasn't changed color. Input.btn. Go back to our app and see. Oh, I've given it the wrong class name. btn. Save that now. Now, Go back to our apps CSS. Okay, that button is a bit small, so I'm just going to set the width to 50%. Now, okay, so I think we have everything. Just check our app CSS. We have the check state. We call in our check state here. That's our function. And we have our on change. Let's test it out then and see how it's looking. So put in a name here. JOHN. We check our box. Yep, we get John. On click, it disappears. So we'll just finish out the rest of it. We check the box then, and all our delivery address details gets transferred down to our billing address details. And then on your submit button, you can create your own function there, what you'd like to do with the information. But it's a handy little thing to have in an e-commerce website to copy the same as delivery address, because 9 times out of 10 that's what people generally do have. And that's just the way I've come up with and how to explain. So check the box to disable or enable it. And so if we'd expect element, and we go to our components for React tools. This is just a Chrome extension I've installed. You can go to the Chrome App Store and install React Dev Tools. Go to apps, just the web store. And just type in React Dev Developer Tools. And here it is here, React Developer Tools. Install that, and that gives you all the access. So we'll go back to our local host. We'll inspect the element again. Click on Components. Select our app. So it shows our state. State is false. Originally, we press the button. And now you see it changes to true. And all our delivery name, the delivery last name, all so on and so forth, they're all blank at the minute. And once I start typing in here, you'll see the name, the state changing. So John Doe, so on and so forth. And once this is checked, they're going to be copied down exactly. So clear that. Close that. Hope you liked this video and found it useful. If you like these videos and want to see more content like this, please like and subscribe to my channel.